Sonic fans, listen up! The fastest hedgehog in the world is back with a new action-packed adventure. After the huge success of the third movie, the story continues with Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Millions of fans around the world are eagerly awaiting the next installment. But what can we look forward to in the sequel? Which characters will return? And when can we expect to see Sonic on the big screen again? In this video, we provide you with all the information and possibilities known so far. Shadow, Sonic's dark antagonist, could once again play a role. After all, it was shown in the post-credit scene of Part 3 that he actually survived. The team of heroes could therefore continue to grow after Knuckles was successfully converted in Part 2. Of course, many fans are wondering, is there a chance of Jim Carrey returning in Sonic 4? Well, whether Dr. Robotnik will return remains questionable. First of all, it was already a big surprise that Carrey came out of his acting retirement for Part 3, and in a double role at that. Moreover, Robotnik actually had his well-deserved demise in the last film. Nevertheless, it is not impossible that the villain will reappear in some form, perhaps in flashbacks or in a surprising plot twist. Fans can look forward to seeing some familiar characters alongside Sonic. The appearances of Metal Sonic and Amy Rose, two iconic characters from the Sonic universe, are particularly eagerly awaited. The two characters were already teased in the mid-credits scene of Sonic 3 and were met with excitement by fans. Whether Sonic 4 will pick up where the third film left off or take a new narrative direction remains to be seen. The mid-credit scene will be hard to ignore. However, we can easily imagine that something will be told about the backstory of the Metal Sonics before the thrilling clash between the three parties resumes. Let's talk about Amy Rose. Fans have waited for her to join the movie series for a long time. She's a rather bubbly, cheerful hedgehog girl who falls in love with Sonic. The dynamic between her and her crush is sure to provide some fun moments. She may appear relatively innocent, but she can pack a punch when she needs to. She's armed with the so-called Pico Pico hammer, which can grow quite a bit in size during Amy's outbursts of rage. The predecessor was already the subject of much speculation about an appearance by Metal Sonic. Originally, he was developed by Dr. Robotnik in order to transfer Sonic's powers into a robot. Metal Sonic is considered one of the Blue Hedgehog's most powerful opponents and has a clear goal: to defeat his living counterpart. The end of the last movie then presented a whole army of Sonic robots, the so-called Metal Sonic Troopers. In the comics, these were created from the data of the original Metal Sonic. However, not by Dr. Robotnik, but among others by Sonic's Uncle Chuck, alias Dr. Charles the Hedgehog. They actually served as protectors and were then misused for other purposes. We are very curious to discover which elements from the original stories will be adapted for the fourth movie. Lastly, there was also the question of who the new antagonist of the film will be, now that Dr. Robotnik has apparently been neutralized. He or she is surely involved in the Trooper's mission to eliminate Sonic. We had already hoped for her appearance in Part 3. Maybe it will finally happen in the new film. We are talking about Rouge the Bat. She is a treasure hunter and spy for GUN, often working together with Shadow. Knuckles in particular is often the target of her attention. She likes to use her feminine charms and could be an exciting companion for Shadow, should he actually return. Should the origin story of the Metal Sonic Troopers be covered, not only could Sonic's uncle make an appearance in Sonic 4, but also Rotor the Walrus. He is a character from the comics and a loyal friend of our heroes. He's a smart guy who is particularly passionate about technology. As he is a kind of humanoid walrus, his design would surely be extra spectacular for a live-action movie. It wasn't really that surprising that another sequel was announced. After all, Sonic 3 was hyped to the max and grossed almost $500 million at the box office. But the pace is quite remarkable. Preparations for Part 4 officially began before the predecessor had even left the movie theaters. The new movie is due to be released in the United States on March 19, 2027. The previous Sonic movies were directed by Jeff Fowler, and it currently looks as though he will be sitting in the director's chair again for Sonic 4. It has not yet been confirmed whether screenwriter Patrick Casey will also be involved in the sequel again, but we strongly assume that there will be little change to the previous formula for success. The majority of the team in front of and behind the camera will probably remain the same. Since the announcement of Sonic 4, speculation has been rampant that it could be the concluding chapter in the main series. However, given the enormous success of the previous films, which have grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide, this seems unlikely. But should the main film series actually come to an end, spin-offs and shows could continue to expand the Sonic universe. After all, there is already a Knuckles series on Paramount+. What do you think? Are you excited for a fourth part? Or is the franchise slowly losing its momentum? As far as we are concerned, the film series could go on forever. The world of Sonic has countless interesting characters that deserve a live-action appearance. Besides, most of the action in the movies so far has taken place on Earth. There are still plenty of opportunities to explore other worlds. Let's see where the journey takes us. You'll definitely see us in theaters for Sonic the Hedgehog 4 on March 19th, 2027.